Happy Sunday night. Sorry to be a few minutes late. It's been a day. It has been a day. If you saw my personal Facebook page, yes, Violet is fine. Yes, she did get her hot cocoa. I love how y'all think I would deprive my child of something just after that. We just want her to stop climbing things. I appreciate her independence, but like, the thing that she had been doing before that was she couldn't find the paintbrushes that we had hidden from her. So she went and she took some of my dry erase markers by the board, was dipping them in paint and using that for a paintbrush. And I had just taken that away from her when she decided that she needed hot cocoa. You could see the paint lined up behind. Anyway, I can't even. So that's where we are Sunday night. I hope your Sunday has been a little bit more fruitful than mine and a little less eventful all at the same time. I also hope that you've used your discount code for sunburn. If you haven't yet, get on it. It's exciting. I know I don't want everybody to feel overcommitted for the summer, but in what I just tried to articulate in the video, which I probably failed to do because I can hear the yelling downstairs of righteous indignation of kids not understanding why their switches have been taken away because they were supposed to be watching the baby while I went to the bathroom and they didn't. So with Nintendo Switches all hiding in the cupboard, what I wanted to say about sunburn was like, rather than try to like turn everything upside down, which isn't natural and isn't going to stick, or doing any sort of like fad diet just because it feels like that's what people are trying to sell you, what I would rather y'all do is focus on doing the thing that I do when I'm getting ready to be out and presentable in public, and that's tuck it in. So when I'm relaxed, y'all don't ever forget I'm from rural Tennessee. When I'm relaxed, I sit different. I talk different. I'm pretty much the same person. It's just the presentation ain't quite the same. When I think about what I need to do whenever I'm coming into a period of change or wanting to do things differently, rather than waste a lot of time bemoaning every decision that got me there, I just tuck it in. It's not hard. And you know what? The fun thing about tucking in my accent, just taking a little bit to speak a little more slowly, even though I have to use my hands in order to do that, whoop, whoop, but I speak a little bit more slowly and I can do it for a long period of time because it's not totally unnatural. It's like a muscle that I can flex. It's like a muscle memory. It's like a habit. And that's really what we're trying to do in fitness protection in general, but also with slow burn. If you don't love push-ups, you're never going to love push-ups. There are no push-ups in this program. I really hate push-ups. I hate them so much. What I want to do is just sort of take the summer, and rather than hit it hard, which is everyone thinks they need to do, I just want to tuck it in. Just want to tuck it in, just that. I know that I feel better and my arthritis is less likely, yes, I have it in these two fingers, it's less likely to act up, because I'm old, if I don't eat sugar. And I was thinking last night, my kids have got me eating gummies. They love them. And my oldest child, the one that we took in last year, lives off basically gummies and Diet Coke. And when she comes over, the kids get so excited because that means everybody gets gummies and Diet Coke because it's not in the house the rest of the time. And I started eating the gummies too because why not? And they're good. But I don't think about the fact they have sugar in them because I've been relaxed, very relaxed. Then the other day I couldn't curl a finger and was like, oh, I should probably start declining the gummies. And that is not huge. It's not like I'm uprooting sugar from every bit of my diet. There's not a whole lot of sugar in my diet because it messes with my arthritis. There's not a whole lot in our house because I don't bake. This is the biggest piece of it. It's these gummies. And there are ways to get them to the kids without me consuming them if I really don't think I can control myself. But I'm an adult. I just need to tuck it in. This is one little thing. So if you don't have something like arthritis, it's going to keep you from like dipping your finger or your whole hand in a peanut butter jar like Violet does. And I got to tell you, there's some days I really just want to live the way Violet does because I'm like, that is reckless abandon and it's glorious. You do you, Violet. But what stops me from doing that is how it would make me feel. And it's not shame. It's like, I'm going to have a hard time going to sleep with half a pint of peanut butter in my belly. I'm going to have trouble moving. Like that just sounds terrible, right? You can love peanut butter without like loving it the way that she does, which to me is a little gross. So I tell you all of that to tell you this. We're not going to do anything unnatural. We're not trying. We're going to do more than what we would normally do in a period trying to get back into the habit of running, back into building the muscle that's required to bring about the metabolic changes that we want, with just making little efforts to tuck things in. If y'all follow Karen Schluter on Instagram, and if you don't, I hope you do, I'm going to be reaching out to her in the next day or so. Hi, Karen. Asking her if she wouldn't mind preparing a recipe for us to share with Sunburners every week of the program. The stuff that she puts together, it's not complicated and it's not rocket science. Even I could do it. So maybe I have to, because there's no baking involved. It's just assembly and overnight oats, for example. I saw one the other day. I'm like, man, that looks good. I need to do that. Karen, tell me what to do, and maybe we can do it. So maybe there are some little things that we can do that don't involve like meal planning, which I don't have time to do, and it's unnatural because anything I try to plan, my kids are going to torpedo that plan, y'all. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth or until they have 4 children. So rather than making really big plans and daring the universe not to get in my way, I just want to find little ways to tuck things in. And that means making a little more time for strength that I really don't want to do year round, and temporarily a little less time from running. Speaking of running, today was the first time I ran for 45 minutes without needing to stop to walk. And that for me is huge. My lungs never quite recovered from a certain incident back last August that I'm not going to talk about, and followed by a respiratory infection that I also think was due to that. So it's been a long way getting my lungs back to a good place. And I was so happy after the first 45 minutes and not having to walk when I realized that 45 minutes had passed, when I realized that first Peloton class had in fact ended and I'd missed the cue to turn around and go home. I cried. I was so happy I cried. And now that has really motivated me to maybe train a little differently. I want to say less. I'm completely overtrained, Elle. I'm telling you this from a thoroughly overtrained state, because I've been having fun with my new toy, enjoying a spate of bad weather, and not having childcare, which has me on the bike sometimes an hour and like way too much, just way too flipping much. I'm not going to lie. Today I had a bike ride and then I went for a run, but I rather went for the run first, then got on the bike. And the run felt so good. I probably shouldn't have done the bike, but I don't care. So I tell you all of that to tell you this. I'm not trying to get you to do 2 hours a day of cardio, but I'm never going to shame you if a day goes by, Kia, and you actually find yourself having done 2 hours of cardio because you're having fun with your new toy and your new app. Coach Takia, Coach Chris, I'm sure you're next, and that's okay too. So all I want y'all to do is feel good. So we start that off with getting right into the weekly wins. Who won this week? So the biggest one for that I can think of, and I've been waiting for this, is that Aaron White's husband came home from the hospital. Congratulations, Aaron. That is huge. And I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. God, that was a long time. Maintain Brenda Haskell says that she's getting a better feel for her half marathon pace and is really happy about that. Plus, she's moving somewhere warm, y'all. Like her, again, Brenda's one you need to follow on Instagram. I love that we had the Instagram feed this week. It was so cool getting to see, how many people I wasn't already following. But people like Brenda, she has a gorgeous house. Her house looks like something out of like, when I say a fairy tale, I mean like it's the perfect little like white house that would come in a picture book that my kids have torn apart in their bedroom somewhere. It's really cute. See, she's selling that to go somewhere warm because of her husband's arthritis too and his allergies, and I just think that's wonderful. So we're happy for Brenda for a number of reasons, not least of which that. Sarah Seberg had a great outdoor run. She'd been feeling so frustrated outdoors after so much treadmill time, but had a glorious 30 minutes that were fairly effortless. Did you hear that scream? I'm going to ignore that scream. Dad, do your job. I'm not handling that scream. Whoop. So I'm glad that you've had 30 minutes in your week that were fairly effortless. I haven't had that yet. Hopefully we're getting there soon, but I've not had it yet. Trisha Thorne had an in-person race. Whoop! And so did Amy. I don't know if y'all saw that on our Facebook page today. Coach Amy had a fantastic race, and we're very proud of her. Beautiful heart rate. Thank you for all the lovely comments to her. This is, it really is about supporting each other, lifting each other up. Races are not my thing. I don't know. I know I'm supposed to be racing the Chicago Marathon this year. Y'all, it's not going to happen. I'm not training and I'm not going. I don't even think they're going to be able to put this race on. But that's where I'm at. Anyway, so, but Trisha had an in-person race. She said that I knew I wasn't ready for racing, but figured I'd have an adventure. The course was very challenging. I knew the hills might mess up a time goal, so I decided that I would be happy if I felt content with my effort, which I was. Having a beer and some pierogi afterwards was fun too. Yay, you! I'm thrilled to hear it. That is amazing and awesome. I miss pierogi like you wouldn't believe. Oh my God. Pierogi, piroshki, they're Russian, Ukrainian foods. And so pierogi and pelmeni were two things I lived on when I studied in Russia as an undergrad and as a graduate student. That was all before celiac. So have 3 or 5 for me. Not answering that scream either. I have 3 or 5 for me because I probably never get to have them again. The Russians are late adopters to the whole gluten-free phenomenon, unfortunately. So in rebuild, I have 2 very young children and find my days vary greatly in both the time I have available to run as well as the energy. Given this, is there a problem with treating the rebuild plan like a menu that I can pick whatever run fits best my available parameters? Yes. There is only one problem, and I just want you to make sure that you're never doing 2 hard runs back to back. Though the way rebuild is written, it would be hard to do that. If you did the Monday and Wednesday run, both I consider to be harder runs. Just take stock, because a lot of the time, I think I just sent over June is in the hot to Susan to get production ready up and going on that. So just double check the run itself and keep yourself in check. So if you really like the rebuild run, the Monday, Wednesday run, and you want to do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever, that's cool. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's cool too. Just make sure that if I'm giving you permission and I'm not giving you caps or targets, that you're not kind of YOLOing and turning a rebuild harder day into a legit hard workout. That is the only caveat. With that said, as long as you're not doing 2 really actual hard workouts back to back, you can pick and choose and do whatever you want. You always can. God knows that there are days when, like today, my 45-minute run, my heart rate was all over the place. But I wanted to run 45 minutes. I wanted to see how long I could go without stopping, because I miss 6-mile runs. Anything less than 6 miles never really felt satisfactory to me back when I was fit, and it's been a while since I've been fit, but that was always the number. So to whatever it is that you need to do, but I'm also not going to be doing that run again tomorrow. Just not. So I tell you all that to tell you this. Anything is better than nothing. Anything when you're in a place that you're unable to do what you want to do freely, and with 2 small kids, you're going to have some constraints, been there, done that, know what it's like. You just do whatever you can and you don't worry about it. As long as you're not beating yourself up each time you're able to get out, you're going to be okay. My goal would be to have balance throughout the month, be able to pick what best suits me on any given day from the workouts available. Yeah, that sounds good. I can trust you with that. As long as you're being realistic and you're taking a look. If you use a polar like I do, they have, I'm ignoring that scream too. I don't know what's going on down there and I don't want to. So as long as if you have a polar like I do, it has a TRIMP score. So a TRIMP score, don't worry about what that is. It's a fancy thing that if you're a coach training a triathlete, it standardizes cardiovascular strain across multi-sport disciplines. So like it normalizes the strain from a run to a strain from a bike to a strain from a swim, to give you an aggregate cardiovascular score. That is your TRIMP score. So the good way it doesn't display. It's something that you generally have to calculate or buy their software to have it at your fingertips. But a pretty good proxy for it is if you go into the cardiovascular strain metrics in Polar. So Polar Flow, for their Vantage products, I don't think it's available on all the products yet, but when I bought this, it was only available and I wanted to see if it was any good. Strava has something similar, not the same, but similar. So mind that, where you don't need to be in the straining band all the time, and you don't need to worry if you get into that detraining mode. Like my watch still thinks I'm detraining because it hasn't yet calculated what I did today. So don't get caught up in all of that stuff. Turn it off if you have to. Pay attention to TRIMP, again, that aggregate cardiovascular strain. And if you want to talk a little bit more about that, reach out to me directly and I can show you where to find it if you don't use a Polar. But broadly and generally speaking, you don't need that. I need that because I'm a terrible judge of it. And now that I have my Peloton, and I'll be like, I feel good. I think I'll take a ride. That wasn't hard, because riding is so much less stress on my body than running is. And I'll think that an easy ride is actually, easy, despite the fact that I've engaged my glutes and my hamstrings the whole time. And then I get off the bike and my ass hurts. It hurts like a lot, you guys. It feels like lead. So it's like 2 bags of sand are pushed together in my pants. That is what my butt feels like right now. It is awful. And that is because I've not been paying attention to everything I've been asking my ass to do lately on that bike and on the run. So I need that trim score. It's like, hey, jumping out on my phone at me every day to be like, take it easy. So as long as you're not me and you're not doing that, and it's really hard to do that on rebuild, then yes, you've got permission to do whatever you want. How do you taper for half marathons that are not your goal race for the season, but you want to run strong? I'm currently using the Maintain program. Sweet. So I don't need anyone to ever have a goal race, and I want to come back to that. So as the year goes on and things start opening back up, and there will be more opportunities to race, I want to revisit some of the ideas that I've thrown at you guys in the past that we haven't really had time to talk about. So one of those things is, how many races can you really care about at once? Because when you are training for performance, it's really restrictive. The training plan sort of supersedes all, and you've really got to focus on rest, and you got to focus on not drinking all the beer all the time. If you're out on Friday nights, you're going to have trouble running on Saturday mornings. I know that sounds really pedantic and should go without saying, but you'd be surprised how many times I've had to have that conversation with people my age or a little bit older. So I tell you all that to tell you this. If you can race all you want, as long as participation makes you feel good. And I really want you to think about that too. I have an entry to a local half marathon that it has never worked out. I bought an entry every year for the past 7 years. It's Georgetown to Idaho Springs. It's a downhill race. It's supposed to be great. It's a classic. This used to be the final hurrah for athletes that would come to altitude to train for the summer and then go back to wherever they lived for the rest of the competitive year. So this was their sort of like they would test their fitness at this race. It's a really big deal for people who live in Colorado. It's like a rite of passage, and I've never done it. Kind of like Boston, never happened. And I just know I'm not going to be fit enough this year that a half would be fine. I just ran 45 minutes for the first time without stopping. I'm strong in a lot of ways. I'm fit in a lot of ways, but my endurance has been crushed by my lung capacity from a couple of events in the past 12 months. I feel like I've turned a corner finally, and I'm really excited about that. But I know that participating in a race would make me feel bad, and I would lose perspective on where I am. So that is a long way of saying, let's make sure that just because it isn't like your goal race and you're not going in with expectations, that you are truly going to be okay with whatever happens and focus on that thing. Okay. So if it's like, I just want to be doing this thing that feels normal with my run friends, great. Don't let the finish time disappoint you in any way. Hey, with no training, I ran a 3:42. Let it be that, and set your mind accordingly. With that said, if you don't really care about performance, we don't need to go crazy with the taper. I would say just don't run hard at all the week before. An avocado toast is going to be good, because that stride sandwich is going to give you all the neuromuscular benefits that you need from the fast leg turnover. All you have to do, it's like fast twitch muscles to keep them on. You just have to turn them on every day. Just use them a little bit, and that's it. You don't need to use them for long periods. You just need to activate them. And that's why strides are so potent. You can do a lot with a little, and you conserve a lot of energy as well as, breakage on your body. So the week before, if you could just not do the 2 hard workouts and not go crazy long, like your longest long run, if we make it about 6 miles, 75 minutes, somewhere in there, you should be good. And then the week of, on Monday, just make that like a 45-minute stride sandwich. Tuesday, 45-minute easy effort. Wednesday, 30-minute easy effort with strides either in the middle or at the end. Thursday, strides only or nothing at all. Friday, nothing at all. And then Saturday, race. That's what I would do. And I would just keep everything in the tank and, hey, see what happens. You might have an amazing day. I try to keep that down and give these really long answers, because people go in and then they get a number and it's like, I'm the slowest I've ever been. And they just don't feel good. And I don't want that for anybody, especially after the 2 years that we've had, the 18 months that we've had. It's been actually, for a lot of people, it's been really, really hard since about 2016. So with that in mind, I just want you to go out there and be like, yay, and really set your mind to that and get excited about what you need to do to come back rather than feeling guilty about like, I let things go. No, you didn't. You survived a fucking pandemic. You're like, you are a winner at the game of life, literally. Like, you're good. And if you can keep that mindset, don't worry about it. You can do a half marathon every month. That's one of the things that was in my head when I designed this, is that I had a client who was adamant about, I want to run a half marathon in every state every month. And I was like, I'm not going to facilitate that. Jeez, that's a tall order. But once you get fit enough, really just showing up and doing it, it's not such a big deal, because you're not coming out of a really long, prolonged, like high pressure training cycle. So if you want to race frequently, we can do that. So instead of like turning up the intensity really high, we just get the volume kind of high and keep it there. And it's amazing what we can get out of that. It's a whole lot more than a really long plan where you've said no to all the fun things for months and months and months, and then no finish time will ever really be worth all that you sacrifice to get there. It's not a one-for-one trade-off, just like it's never calories in, calories out. Should we run, quote unquote, naturally, like what feels normal, or try to fix our form to run like pros? I've heard pros and cons on both sides of the issue. Would love your input. I am not, so form is a function of strength. And it is easier and more beneficial to work on the strength aspects than it is to try to correct form if you're just doing this on your own. Now, if you're working with a physical therapist and they are hell-bent on changing your foot strike, I'm not going to get in the way of you in medical science, but I am going to question that, because I've never met a physical therapist who has recommended that to a distance runner. It's one thing when you're a sprinter and you're only taking like 10 steps in the course of your race. Then foot strike really matters, and how much power is generated with each footfall is a really big deal. It's literally the difference between beating Usain Bolt and winning $1 million and not. But for the rest of us, you're going to take something like 25,000 steps over the course of a marathon. So you could argue that foot strike is really important because there are 25,000 of them. You could also say you ain't going to pay attention to that correction over the course of 25,000 steps. What you do for maybe 150, at some point you're going to get tired. You're not going to be able to keep it up. So I tell you that to tell you this. When the only form cue that I give is to lock your cage, and that is drawing your shoulders down and back, not backwards, but just trying to bring the lower tips of your shoulder blades together. Just sit there and practice it, and sitting on top of your sits bones, because that engages your TVA. So with that, because when I would tell people to like, use your core, they would crunch forward. When I would say straighten up, they would like, their shoulders would come up to their ears. All kinds of really unnatural things happened. And the coaching cue that tended to work the most consistently over time was to lock your cage. So that's still to this day the only form cue I ever give, because anything beyond straighten up a little bit isn't going to do a whole lot. Pay attention to what your body's doing. If you're swinging side to side a whole lot, then that's a pretty good sign that you are going faster than your body wants to go. It's inefficient, and you're going to run out of energy pretty quickly. So, rather than working on your form, I would just say slow down. And when your speed changes, the strength required to maintain that pace diminishes, and you'll find that your form improves. Most of us have much better form on easy effort runs than we do in races, and that's why. So if you really want to talk more about this, let me know. But 9 times out of 10, it's just a function of strength. I would focus on the strength, because that's going to be a lot more beneficial. And then the changes will fall out naturally from that. I found in the past when I trained for triathlons, the added biking and swimming significantly improved my running. I'm able to bike, but I'm not in a place yet where I can get regular access to a pool. Are there ways that I can mimic the type of training I would get from swimming, full body, no impact, some resistance without actually swimming? I'm vaccinated, but have young children in my house, so I'm not comfortable working out indoors. That's really hard. I'm going to have to think on that one a little bit. Because when it comes to swimming, it's more of your arms and your back than anything else, because the water is buoyant and you're pulling yourself forward with the upper part of your body. I'm not familiar right now with any other workouts that would imitate that beyond Nordic skiing, which is kind of hard to do this time of year, or skate skiing. which if you've seen, have you seen skate skis? Is anyone watching this right now? I know I've got like five viewers. If you're watching this and you have seen skate skis and have any idea what I'm talking about, that is a possibility. Because it requires your arms. You're pulling yourself forward with your arms. You're basically onto little bitty tiny skateboards, propelling yourself with what look like ski poles. They look amazing, and I see people in the park using them all the time. That it's not perfect because it's not buoyant, but the effort is still going to be coming from your arms and your back. So that's outdoors, and that's something you could do. But let me think about that a little bit. Again, it's not perfect, but maybe that could be the third thing for a while until you're in a place where you can go indoors again. Swimming is really tough. The cardiovascular strain that most imitates running, as I like to tell people, we change the plane of motion to up and down. It's climbing stairs, either on a Stairmaster, a step mill, or old-fashioned walking up and down stairs if you've got a football stadium or like the Manitou Incline or something like that near you. That's never, or a parking garage. It's never bad. Rollerblading could work, but again, you're not really going to be using your arms to propel yourself forward in rollerblading. Plus, it's really dangerous. I've seen a lot of people get hurt on rollerblades. So I'm not, ja nie protiv. It's like I say to my husband all the time. You talked about pilmeniel. Ja nie protiv. I'm not against it. But I can't say that rollerblading is going to be comparable to swimming when it comes to cardiovascular strain. It is going to be a little more gentle on your body than running for sure. But I don't know that it specifically replaces swimming. But if you want to rollerblade, I mean, shoot, go ahead and add it in. Why not? There's no compelling reason not to. But I think if you want to do rollerblade with ski poles, look up the poles that are used for skate skis. I honestly haven't paid that much attention to. I've not tried to see it. For all I know, this is where Amy Wilson might be really helpful. If you were watching, I don't know if she does crazy things like this. The poles that are used on skate skis, you might be able to use those on rollerblades and come up with something that really closely imitates the muscular strain and cardiovascular strain that you would get from swimming. Again, it's not going to be exactly the same, but yeah, roller skiing. You could probably come up with something really similar with that. Is skate skiing not it? Skate skiing is probably something totally different, and everybody's like, "No, MK, stop talking." So that's kind of what I would do. Swimming is really hard to imitate, but so since we can't necessarily get the same buoyancy, then we need to look at where's the locomotion coming from, and with running, it's obviously coming from your legs propelling you forward. With swimming, it's from your arms propelling you forward, and we could probably do that most closely with skiing than just about anything else. So you would definitely be outdoors doing that. That's it. That's all the questions. If you have not yet used your discount code for slow burn, sunburn, get in there and do that. We're finalizing the program this weekend. I'm really excited. But yeah, more than anything else, if there is, going back to what I was trying to say in my other live video, you go buy new clothes. I did. Poshmark. This is great. It costs $5 and it fits great. And people are looking at me and they don't see someone who's gained 35 pounds. I don't feel like someone who's gained 35 pounds. I look cute a lot of the time, and I'm happy with that. I went and got some new run clothes. You're going to be learning more about that this week because we have another podcast coming out. Yay! Your weight does not define you any more than that number at a finish line will. But if you feel things about your body and your fitness and your weight right now is a visual reminder of all that, that's valid, that's real. I see you. I love you. Please don't do anything drastic trying to change your body because it will backfire. Sunburn might sound drastic, but it's just got a cool name. What we're trying to do, as always as ever, is come up with something that is sustainable, that's not going to burn you out. And just because you see something in your inbox promising you a solution, that same marketing team probably created the problem that you recognize. It's great marketing, it's good business, but it's probably great. Good business isn't always good fitness. And maybe we're not good business here, but I would rather be a good coach and a good human than a good business person at the end of the day. So there you go. You're coached. You're loved. Go buy something pretty. You deserve it. You're winning at life. You can be a winner at the game of life.